Hi everyone, and welcome back to Sustainability Time. Woo! Today I'm here with two China Blue members.
Hi, my name is Chloe Chan. I'm a junior majoring in psychology with an Asian American Studies minor, and I'm the vice president of China Blue.
Hello, my name is Serena Leung. I'm a biology major in my junior year, and I am the secretary of China Blue.
Thank you for joining us today. I think it's really interesting that China Blue is kind of like different from other cultural clubs because not only are you guys a Chinese cultural club, but you guys are also a media club that talks about Chinese culture in your radio show. Do you guys want to talk a little bit more about that?
Basically, we started off as a radio show more than like a club, and then sometime in the past, one of our past presidents decided to start hosting events to create an even like more of like a space for like our club and people that are in our community.
We host radio shows every Sunday, and on those radio shows we talk about like interesting topics regarding either current events happening on campus or events that we've hosted, and other topics that might resolve to like culture and other things like that.
You mentioned like your talk about different topics about your Chinese culture. I also joined PUSO when I was a freshman, and I was like really interested in learning more about my culture. And the first thing that came to mind was like food, the clothes, the music, and like different regions. But the more that I kind of like spent time in the club as well as taking classes that were related to my major, I realized that there's more to my culture that are kind of like below like the surface level, specifically environment and sustainability within my culture. I wanted to ask you guys, how does your culture or does China kind of view the environment, and how can it be kind of connected to sustainability?
I think you can see in like Chinese history, at least like more modern past history, China was very focused on like industrialization, like kind of becoming one of the like a kind of like a giant in the global scene, and it's reflected in the way their environment has like manifested. Like now they have a lot of issues, and like due to like rapid expansion and rapid industrialization, like obviously there were blows to the bamboo forests, and like China's greatest treasure are the pandas. Aww. And so that's like, I think that's one of their biggest like environmental efforts, is like bringing back the panda population and kind of helping them become, well, keeping them a protected species and like just helping them thrive despite their lack of contribution to society as animals, which is okay. But like that's like China likes to also take like issues and kind of turn them into like cultural statements. Like pandas have become a symbol of China, so that's like kind of like a Chinese government like nationalist kind of thing going on with just like pandas itself, but behind the scenes they are like working to protect them. But like in terms of like air quality and stuff, like if you go to China, like everyone has a mask, and it's not just because if they're sick, it's also for like air pollution, and like a lot of people have health issues because of that now.
I did visit Hong Kong, but the air pollution is not as bad because I would say it's not one of the cities where they do like mass production. And in a lot of cities, because like consumerism is such like a relevant topic these days, and China is supplying most of these products, the mass consumerism like wave is cause of like so much more pollution in these big cities, and there's so much smog in these cities. I feel like China is now trying to negate the side effects because they are having like negative side effects on public health. So they are trying to put effort towards that, but because there is already such like a large like cultural like statement in effect of like China is established as one of the big countries that do like mass consumerism of products, they are having a hard time to combat these negative side effects.
I think that's really cool that you guys mentioned China's care for their pandas, because there are a lot of other Asian countries that I can think of where they might be putting environmental efforts, and it could be really romanticized actually, those countries, based on its tourism. There's like a few that I think of that have very like pretty like parks and maybe use nice like transportation systems, but they have like really bad like animal abuse and like are not like don't value like their animals or don't treat them well at all. So it's really nice to see that China does have like those aspects, even if it's like, not perfect. That's one step towards working towards like better community. In China Blue, is there anything that you guys take from your culture, like such as maybe a cultural holiday that you guys have, and try and make an event out of it to try and be more sustainable? Like, I guess one that I think of that you guys do a lot, whenever you guys have an event, you guys have this ring for like a backdrop, and I saw that you guys have been reusing that instead of like getting a new backdrop. And I guess not only does that save waste, like, or add on to the waste, but it also saves you guys money. Do you guys have anything
On that?
Yeah.
I think like our biggest motivator is money and our budget. Like, I won't lie, but like because usually when I first joined China Blue, I joined in my freshman year, so that was a couple years ago now. We originally used like the paper sticky name tags, and like we would just have like a stack, or they would just reorder at every event. But now, sometime last year, our EC heads, our event committee, decided to do these like reusable chalkboard name tags, so we can, one, just switch out the names, and two, reuse them every event. We also have like reusable flowers, or like the fake flowers that we've accumulated over the years. We did experience a big blow to our inventory due to a mold issue in our garden. So we did have to throw out a lot, and we did end up repurchasing a little bit. But to be honest, I feel like because we aren't as heavily funded as other clubs, but we do have enough budget, we tend to reuse a lot of things. Like, definitely our backdrop, I think that's like years old. The backdrop cloth is really old. Like, we have like this tablecloth we bring to events, or banner thing that we've had for a really long time. Like, we just reuse to save money, I would say.
Nice.
Like Chloe said, we do reuse a lot of our products, and we do have, because we're lucky enough to have a space to store these things, we're able to reuse them like every year. And you'll see a lot of the things that we use, such as like the name tags, you'll see them year after year and like event after event. So I think it's a good way to like reduce and reuse.
Period.
It's cool that you guys have an office to store those things. It definitely helps with like reusing.
That's eyelashes, blank stare.
Oh, if there was one environmental topic that you guys were to talk about on your show, talk about at a GBM, what would you guys want to discuss or educate your general body?
I like pandas a lot. They're my favorite animal. So I would choose panda conservation and So I would choose panda conservation and the wildlife conservation aspect that China's been pursuing. I think there is a lesser talked about thing is the rare earth mineral mining that happens in China as a byproduct of a lot of American companies and technology. I think that would be like a really interesting GBM, because we have an event called Arcade Night, so I think that would tie in perfectly, just because of like we do have like computers there and like devices that utilize those resources, and like I don't think a lot of people know about recycling old electronics as a way to mitigate that, but it'd be great to like talk about that, I think.
I agree with what Chloe said about how like I like China's efforts in like restoring bamboo forests for pandas, and I think an event that ties into that would be very appealing for our audience, as well as just like casually tying in some environmental factors and making people more aware. A topic that I think about sometimes, or like I look and see on the news sometimes, is how environmental like global climate change affects more minorities instead of majorities, because if you have more money, then you're able to combat the effects of climate change, such as like maybe like more AC, or you can just move somewhere else. But people who are in like a lower socioeconomic status are unable to do these things. And I think maybe like just making people more aware culturally of like these conditions would make people understand better, and we could tie that into our events in like one of our
Definitely a radio show.
yeah.
I think that's all the questions I have for today. Was there anything that you guys wanted to plug?
We have our semi-formal on the 18th already, so you can.
Or April?
April
Oh,
April
okay,
18th.
okay.
And then it's a Friday. It's semi-formal wear to our radio show is 6 to 7
on Sundays.
on WUSB 91.1 FM. I would definitely check that out.
You can also follow us on China Blue SBU on Instagram as well as TikTok. We do have a lot of events that come up where there's like a lot of food and games and prizes if you want to come check that out. But thank you for hosting this interview.
Thank
for
you.
us.
Okay, guys, that's all we have for today in this episode of Sustainability Time. Thank you.